Hey guys, Master Maverick here. Let's open with a joke. Donald Trump. That was it. That's a joke. Donald's the setup, and Trump is the punchline. For the longest time, I was operating under the theory that he wasn't serious about his candidacy, which is a reasonable assumption because, I mean, he's done it before. He just runs out and goes, "Oh, I'm going to run for president, haha!" And we all laugh, and then he goes away. I always assumed that it had the same cultural purpose as a YouTube video of a monkey drinking its own piss. It's just something for people to gawk at who have nothing better to do. And I'm still somewhat clinging to that theory. Desperately clinging to it, as the case may be, as we draw closer to the election, and his popularity is inexplicably soaring. I think I like to delude myself into believing that there are limits to human stupidity, and I think that's why I'm hoping that that he's not serious, because holy shit. I think how I don't understand. He's mimicking Hitler. He's mimicking Hitler. It's got to be intentional. You're telling me he's doing that by accident? He's got all that money. He can't go out and buy a copy of Mein Kampf and be like, "Holy shit, this sounds familiar." I had that thought in the shower this morning. So I want to believe, as I think most intelligent people do, I want to believe that he wasn't serious, that he was just doing this for money and publicity, and that I think this time around, conservative America called his bluff. They said, "You think we won't be that stupid?" For 7 years, we've been getting metaphorical lobotomies from Fox News. We will be that stupid. Go Trump. And his popularity just took off. It's a good barometer for the collective IQ of this country. I think if you take his percentage in the polls, subtract it from 100, and then multiply that by, I would say, maybe around 125, you'll probably come out with about the average IQ of our population. So, I want to believe that he never intended for this to happen. He's like, he's backed into a corner now, and he's like, "Holy shit, I don't want to be president, I just like attention." So, to build on that theory, he may have called Sarah Palin in his desperation and said, like, "Look, Sarah, I need you to McCain me here. Can I get your endorsement? Because right now there are only two ways to sink this thing. I either need you to endorse me, or I need to go on stage and devour a fetus. And I can't do that. I had a big lunch." And so that brings us to this. I'm going to go ahead and, because this is just too good and mind-blowing, bafflingly stupid. So I'm going to go ahead and play the entirety of her endorsement for Mr. Trump and offer my commentary, because I've got fuck all to do. So let's roll that.
I just want to now say just a couple of words about a very special person.
Is it the racist, cocaine-addicted goblin in your head that tells you what to say?
This is a person who I've known for a long time, who I've respected for so long.
It is, isn't it? We're going to meet Twitchy, the racist head goblin.
An incredible husband.
You're introducing us to your incredible husband? Holy shit, guys, Trump's coming out.
An incredible family. And somebody that when I heard that she was going to endorse me, I was so honored.
Crap, I can see where this is going.
You have no idea how honored. And I would like to bring up, if I might, Governor Sarah Palin.
Yep, right there. All of Sarah Palin's female supporters just now experienced their first orgasm. And then they immediately ran to church screaming, "Jesus help me! The devil done punched my no-no!" Can I get partial credit? I did guess racist goblin. You just switched it up on me. I was expecting the cokehead. You sent out the glue sniffer. Alright. What do you got, Huffy?
Special person. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be in Iowa. We're here just thawing out. Todd and I and a couple of our friends here from Alaska, lending our support for the next president of our great United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
That isn't funny. You shouldn't joke about a national tragedy like that.
Mr. Trump, you're right. Look back there in the press box. Heads are spinning. Media heads are spinning. This is going to be so much fun.
You know, I love that the two of you take the fact that you caused disbelief as an accomplishment. You're like two 5-year-olds who just learned what cursing is and then do it all the time to get attention.
Are you ready to make America great again?
I think the best way to accomplish that would be to stab the Oompa Loompa looking gentleman to your left there and then immediately take your own life.
We all have a part in this. We all have a responsibility. Looking around at all of you, you hard-working Iowa families, you farm families, and teachers and teamsters and cops and cooks, you rock and rollers and holy rollers.
Probably a disproportionate amount of that last one in this audience.
All of you who work so hard, you full-time moms, you with the hands that rock the cradle.
You know, I've never seen that movie, but I've got a pretty good idea of what it's about. Good reference. This is a Trump rally. There are probably a lot of psychopaths in your audience tonight.
You all make the world go round, and now our cause is won. When asked why I would jump into a primary,
We all know why you're doing this, because you're an attention whore with a big fucking mouth. Ooh, mystery solved.
kind of stirring it up a little bit maybe, and choose one over some friends who are running, and I've endorsed a couple others in their races before they decided to run for president. I was told, warned left and right, you are going to get so clobbered in the press. You are just going to get beat up and
They're right, Sarah. You are an easy target.
chewed up and spit out. And, I'm thinking, and? Yeah? You guys haven't tried to do that every day since that night in '08 when I was on stage nominated for VP. And I got to say, yeah, I'll go, send me, you betcha. I'll serve.
You really make it sound like you didn't know where you were at the time. You didn't, did you?
And like you all, I'm still standing.
Again, not an accomplishment. It just means you're too stupid to understand why you're being mocked.
So those of us who've kind of gone through the ringer, as Mr. Trump has, makes me respect you even more. That you're here and you're putting your efforts and you're putting reputations, you are putting relationships on the line to do the right thing for this country because you are ready to make America great again.
You know, I just want to mention this. Doesn't Donald Trump kind of seem like a Sith Lord over there? Like, watching over a little Darth Palin? Like, good, good. Let the stupid flow through you.
Well, I am here because, like you, I know that it is now or never. I'm in it to win it.
Oh my God, she thinks she's on The Price is Right. Sarah, it's a Trump rally, honey. You're not going to win a dinette set.
Because we believe in America and we love our freedom. And if you love your freedom, think of that. Think of that and know that the United States military deserves a commander-in-chief who loves our country passionately and will never apologize for this country.
We all know where you're going with this. Usual conservative diplomacy is for pussies approach. Why talk when you can start useless and unnecessary wars?
A new commander-in-chief who will never leave our men behind.
I think sending our men off to fight in wars you didn't need to start is pretty much as bad as leaving them behind, if not worse. You know we already had a president who did that, right?
A new commander-in-chief, one who will never lie to the families of the fallen. I'm in it because just last week we're watching our sailors suffer and be humiliated on a world stage at the hands of Iranian captors in violation of international law because a weak-kneed capitulator-in-chief has decided that America will lead from behind.
Yeah, it's my understanding. I mean, I wasn't following that incident very closely, but I believe the sailors themselves apologized because they'd made a mistake. And the administration negotiated with the Iranian government, and they were released quickly, due in part to improved relations between our country and theirs, which was accomplished by, in large part, by that nuclear deal that you guys were freaking out about. The sailors were let go promptly, and that was accomplished by diplomacy. Something like that, a speedy and peaceful resolution, never would have happened with an aggressive asshole like you or Trump in the White House just beating your chest and saying, "We're America, we can do whatever we want." They were released. That's literally the opposite of leaving them behind. You realize, like, when you say words, they have to describe what's actually happening, right?
And he who would negotiate deals.
Dills? Dills? Negotiate dills? I'm having trouble with your accent. Negotiate dills. Is this like a hypothetical situation where we're using pickles as currency?
Kind of like with the skills of a community organizer, maybe organizing a neighborhood tea. Yeah, well, he deciding that, no, America would apologize.
Again, it's called diplomacy. It's how you solve problems without starting unnecessary wars and risking the lives of the soldiers you claim to love so much. No, diplomacy doesn't always work, and that's why wars still exist, but like, get it through your stupid head that war should be a last resort, not your immediate response.
And as part of the deal, as the enemy sends a message to the rest of the world that they capture and we kowtow and we apologize and then we bend over and say, "Thank you, enemy."
You know, that good guy, bad guy mentality you have is exactly the same as the one your enemies have. You're both thinking the same thing. I'm not suggesting that their actions are excusable, by no means. And I'm not saying that it's unacceptable to use force if and when we must. But if you maintain that unrealistic mentality that there's a good guy, bad guy situation, you're not going to solve anything. You're just wasting lives. You need to at least approach the situation realistically and make an attempt to understand it for what it is, because we're not in a movie. There's not like a villain. Our enemies may be misguided, but they're people. So by all means, fight if we must, but to maintain the idea that that we're fighting some inhuman evil is just not accurate, and it is not constructive to what I hope you want to accomplish, which is to actually stop the killing.
We are ready for a change. We are ready, and our troops deserve the best. A new commander-in-chief whose track record of success has proven he is the master at the art of the dill.
There it is again, dill. What is this obsession you have with pickles? Your accent. What is that? What accent is that? I've never heard deal pronounced as dill. The art of the dill. That sounds like a I don't know, a horrible pickle samurai movie.
He is one who would know to negotiate. Only one candidate's record of success proves he is the master of the art of the dill. He is beholden to no one but we, the people. How refreshing. He is perfectly positioned to let you make America great again. Are you ready for that, Iowa? No more pussyfooting around. Our troops deserve the best. You deserve the best.
You deserve fancy feast.
He is from the private sector, not a politician. Can I get a hallelujah?
No. I'll tell you what. I'll say it if you can spell it. Why is this a selling point? I'm not a fan of politicians myself. I mean, I find it interesting that you have a problem with them. Apparently you forgot you are one. But you're making a point that he's not a politician. He's a wealthy businessman. Well, they're never corrupt, right? They're the ones corrupting the politicians.
Where in the private sector you actually have to balance budgets in order to prioritize, to keep the main thing the main thing. And he knows the main thing. A president is to keep us safe economically and militarily. He knows the main thing.
The main thing? The fuck does that even mean? Has a more meaningless phrase ever been uttered by anyone? He knows the main thing. Well, thank God! We definitely need a whatchamacallit who knows the main thing. Take that, all you main thing not knowing fuckers!
And he knows how to lead the charge. So troops, hang in there because help's on the way, because he, better than anyone, isn't he known for being able to command fire?
I really am tired of conservatives comparing and equating the country to a business, because it's not one. In a business, people are expendable. You don't have to take care of the sick and the elderly in a business. People retire and they're gone. In a country, you need to provide things for people because it's unconscionable not to, which is another point that a lot of you have trouble comprehending. You need to provide basic needs for people regardless of their circumstances, again, because it's unconscionable not to. And yes, that costs money. And when we don't have sufficient money, we generate debt. And you know, I want to clarify, I'm not anti-capitalism, but it's important to acknowledge that it's not a perfect system. It is inherently exploitative. And it's very, very important that we have programs in place that limit the damage that can be caused by that exploitation. And you know, to prevent the worst from happening, which we're kind of getting close to if you look at economic disparity in this country. A smaller and smaller portion of the population is controlling a larger and larger portion of the wealth, and that's a real problem. We need to limit the damage caused by the exploitation that is essentially required in order for capitalism to function. And the reality is that the wealthiest people in a capitalist economy are benefiting the greatest from that exploitation, and therefore, not only because they're benefiting the most from it, but because they will be the least inconvenienced by the cost. The expense incurred by those programs that limit the damages should be the responsibility of the wealthiest citizens, because it is kind of caused either directly by them or for their benefit. So our national debt should be the responsibility of the wealthiest and the most powerful, without sacrificing the basic needs of the least privileged. So it's, again, it's the responsibility of the wealthiest, most powerful people, like you and your Oompa Loompa friend there. I'm saying raise taxes on the rich and on the most successful corporations, because it is abundantly clear that your party's experiment with supply-side economics is failing miserably.
Are you ready for a commander-in-chief? You ready for a commander-in-chief who will let our warriors do their job and go kick ISIS ass?
Yeah, from the safety of the White House. You know, your hyper-aggression would at least be a little bit more tolerable if you were volunteering to go fight yourselves. It's not really noble how eager you are to sacrifice other people's lives.
for someone who will secure our borders, to secure our jobs, and to secure our homes.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Immigration, really? You know, without even addressing the fact that the negative impact of illegal immigration is purely speculative, it isn't even occurring at a level consistent with the crisis you're trying to fabricate. I don't have the data for just last year, but as recently as 2014, net migration from Mexico was about zero, which means there were as many people leaving as there were coming, which means that the illegal immigrant population wasn't growing at all. All you're doing here, every time you open your mouths about immigration, all you're doing is pandering to xenophobic ignoramuses who are desperate for a scapegoat.
Ready to make America great again. Are you ready to stump for Trump? I'm here to support the next president of the United States, Donald Trump. Now, 8 years ago, I warned that Obama's promised fundamental transformation of America, that it was going to take more from you and leave America weaker on the world stage, and that we would soon be unrecognizable. Well, it's the one promise that Obama kept.
Would you care to explain how? The economy has improved. Granted, almost all of the new income is going to the top 1%. That really isn't Obama's fault. That wouldn't be happening if we passed laws for the benefit of, everyone. Things like raising the minimum wage, increasing taxes on the wealthiest people in corporations, making higher education available to everyone. These things would all help to distribute the newly generated wealth more evenly. But those are all things that you on the right are fiercely opposed to. So if you're going to claim that Obama ruined the country, or even stupider, that it's been fundamentally transformed, you really explain how. Explain what you mean by that. You're just throwing it out there and expecting everyone to just take your word for it. Really, America could use some fundamental transformations, but you and your party exist apparently for the sole purpose to impede as much progress as you possibly can.
But he didn't do it alone. And this is important to remember, especially those of you like me, a member of the GOP. This is what we have to remember in this very contested, competitive, great primary race. Trump's candidacy, it has exposed not just that tragic, the ramifications of that betrayal of a transformation of our country, but two, he has exposed the complicity on both sides of the aisle that has enabled it, okay? Well, Trump, what he's been able to do, which is really ticking people off, which I'm glad about. He's going rogue left and right, man. That's why he's doing so well. He's been able to tear the veil off.
The veil? Sarah, your accent. I swear, I know I'm being pedantic, but I can't get past it. I love that any two consecutive vowels immediately merge into a short I sound. Something's going on in your brain.
This idea of the system, the way that the system really works, and please hear me on this. I want you guys to understand more and more how the system, the establishment, works and has gotten us into the troubles that we are in America. The permanent political class has been doing the bidding of their campaign donor class. And that's why you see that the borders are kept open for them, for their cheap labor that they want to come in.
Man, you are just creating these scapegoat boogeymen left and right. I know there's corruption in the government, but you are really just conjecturing and simplifying.
That's why they've been bloating budgets. It's for crony capitalists to be able to suck off of them. It's why we see these lousy trade deals that gut our industry for special interests elsewhere. We need someone new who has the power and is in the position to bust up that establishment to make things great again. It's part of the problem. His candidacy, which is a movement.
It is a movement. It's a bowel movement.
It's a force. It's a strategy. It proves as long as the politicos, they get to keep their titles and their perks and their media ratings, they don't really care who wins elections. Believe me on this. And the proof of this, look what's happening today. Our own GOP machine, the establishment, they who would assemble the political landscape, they're attacking their own front runner.
I have to say I really am enjoying watching your party implode. It's like a supernova made of unprecedented stupidity.
Now, would the left ever, would the DNC ever come after their front runner and her supporters? No, because they don't eat their own. They don't self-destruct. But for the GOP establishment to be coming after Donald Trump's supporters even with accusations that are so false, they are so busted the way that this thing works. We, you, a diverse, dynamic, needed support base that they would attack.
Yeah, I'd comment, but I really don't care about the GOP's political cannibalism. You're contentious children, it's to be expected. Put a bunch of crazy idiots together and they'll destroy each other. That's how it works.
And now, some of them even whispering they're ready to throw in for Hillary over Trump because they can't afford to see the status quo go. Otherwise, they won't be able to be slurping off the gravy train that's been feeding them all these years. They don't want that to end. Well, and then funny, not funny. But now what they're doing is wailing, well, Trump and his trumpeters, well, they're not conservative enough. Oh my goodness gracious, what the heck would the establishment know about conservatism? Tell me, is this conservative? GOP majorities handing Obama a blank check to fund Obamacare and Planned Parenthood and illegal immigration that competes for your jobs and turning safety nets into hammocks?
Did they do that? I don't know. I haven't really researched this, but the GOP's rhetoric over the last few years hasn't suggested that they gave Obama a blank check for anything, especially illegal immigration. When did they give him a blank check for illegal immigration? How exactly did they do that?
And all these new Democrat voters that are going to be coming on over the border as we keep the borders open.
No, I'm pretty sure illegal immigrants aren't allowed to vote. To which I'm sure you'll reply, well, they do anyway. To which I respond, prove it. With verified cases, not just allegations, because the vast majority of allegations about voter fraud turn out to be false. So, proven, verified cases only.
And bequeathing our children millions in new debt and refusing to fight back for our solvency and our sovereignty, even though that's why we elected them and sent them as a majority to DC. No, if they're not willing to do that, then how are they to tell us that we're not conservative enough in order to be able to make these changes in America that we know need to be made? Now they're concerned about this ideological purity?
I don't know. It's a pretty hard distinction to make. You're all crazy, but you and Trump are pretty deep into the batshit end of the spectrum.
Give me a break. Who are they to say that? Oh, and tell somebody like Phyllis Schlafly. She is the Republican conservative movement icon and hero and a Trump supporter. Tell her she's not conservative. How about the rest of us? Right-wing and bitter, clinging, proud clingers of our guns, our God, and our religions.
Oh dear God, no. Yes, that was very funky fresh, or whatever the fuck you were going for. Congratulations, you've just secured the rapping granny vote.
And our Constitution tell us that we're not red enough? Yeah, coming from the establishment, right. Well, he, being the only one who's been willing, he's got the guts to wear the issues that need to be spoken about and debated on his sleeve, where the rest of some of these establishment candidates, they just wanted to duck and hide. They didn't want to talk about these issues till he brought them up. In fact, they've been wearing this political correctness kind of like a suicide vest.
They wear political correctness like a suicide vest. What? In the course of this speech, I am convinced I'm witnessing you progressing through dementia.
And enough is enough. These issues that Donald Trump talks about had to be debated, and he brought them to the forefront. And that's why we are where we are today, with good discussion. A good, heated, and very competitive primary is where we are. And now, though, to be lectured that, well, you guys are all sounding kind of angry, is what we're hearing from the establishment.
I guess so, yeah, but your anger is near the bottom of a very long list of issues.
Doggone right we're angry, justifiably so, yes. You know, they stomp on our neck and then they tell us, just chill.
I don't know if it's stomping on your neck so much as like, here, take your meds.
Okay, just relax. Well, look, we are mad and we've been had. They need to get used to it. This election is more than just your basic ABCs. Anybody but Clinton. It's more than that this go around.
Wow, hang on. Play that back again. Listen to the crowd.
It's more than that this go around.
That was no less than 6 generations of inbreeding represented in a single sound.
When we're talking about a nation without borders, when we're talking about bankruptcies in our federal government, debt that our children and our grandchildren, they'll never be able to pay off.
Look, I already explained this to you. I told you what to do about the debt. We have 2 choices. One, we can slightly inconvenience the wealthy. Or 2, we can more or less murder the underprivileged. It's an easy decision to make. It's the first choice. I know that's probably confusing for you because, God forbid, you touch, the wealth of the most privileged people in the country. But those are your options. Inconvenience them or murder the least privileged people, which is really what your actions come down to. It's an easy decision to make. It's a decision everyone in this country would make with a few seconds of consideration. And they would make it if they weren't being confused and misled by horrible human beings such as yourself, who convince them to demonize the least privileged people in this country. I'm being serious here. Shame on you. That's a horrible, horrible thing to do. You're a terrible human being for doing it. All of you, all powerful conservatives who tell people that people on welfare are the problem and illegal immigrants are the problem. The people who have it the hardest in this country are the problem and need to be punished and their situations made worse. Fuck you. You're terrible. What the fuck is the matter with you? I'm serious. Piss off. That really makes me angry. There is something seriously fucking wrong with you.
When we're talking about no more Reagan-esque power that comes from strength, power through strength, well, then we're talking about our very existence. So no, we're not going to chill. In fact, it's time to drill, baby, drill down.
Okay, I think you've lost track of the metaphor here. If they're stomping on your necks, how is drilling a solution? What are you drilling? What the fuck are you talking about? I know it rhymes and it's kind of your catchphrase, but it makes no sense here.
And hold these folks accountable. And we need to stop the self-sabotage and elect new and independent, a candidate who represents that and represents America first, finally. Pro-Constitution, common sense solutions that he brings to the table.
Pro tip, when conservatives talk about common sense, what they mean is simplicity to the point of just being completely incorrect.
Yes, the status quo has got to go, otherwise we're just going to get more of the same. And with their failed agenda, it can't be salvaged, it must be savaged. And Donald Trump is the right one to do that. Are you ready for new? And are you ready for the leader who will let you make America great again?
Yes. Where is he? He's not the guy standing next to you.
It's gonna take a whole team. It's gonna take a whole team. Fighters, all of us in the private sector, fighters in the House and the Senate. So our friends who are fighters in the House and the Senate today, they need to stay there and help out. They can help our new leader in the positions that they are in. Let me say something really positive about one of those individuals, Rand Paul. I'm going to tell you about that libertarian streak in him that is healthy, because he knows you only go to war if you're determined to win the war. And you quit footing the bill for these nations who are oil rich. We're paying for some of their skirmishes.
Skirmishes? What is that? Skirmishes? Is that like... Stop it. I don't... Skirmishes. You meant skirmishes, right? If you're gonna be like, you know, commander-in-chief of the army, I think it's important to know what a skirmish is.
That have been going on for centuries, where they're fighting each other and yelling Allah Akbar, calling jihad on each other's heads forever and ever. Like I've said before, let them duke it out and let Allah sort it out. We'll fight for American interests, and as Donald Trump has said, other nations where we have been footing the bill, but we haven't prioritized our own domestic budgets well enough to be able to afford what we're doing overseas. Things are going to change under President Trump. So it can be an unbeatable team with fighters there in the House and the Senate. Yeah, our leader is a little bit different. He's a multi-billionaire. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But it's amazing. He is not elitist at all.
Huh? He is a rampaging egomaniac!
I just hope you all get to know him more and more as a person and a family man, and what he's been able to accomplish, and with his, it's kind of this quiet generosity.
You're calling Donald Trump quiet and generous. There is no better indication that you are not a resident of the universe the rest of us occupy.
Yeah, maybe his largesse kind of, I don't know, some would say gets in the way of that quiet generosity and his compassion. But if you know him as a person, and you'll get to know him more and more, you'll have even more respect, not just for his record of success and the good intentions for America, but who he is as a person. He's not an elitist. And yes, as a multi-billionaire, we still root him on because he roots us on. And he spent his life with the working man, and he tells us, Joe Sixpacks, he said, you know, I've worked very, very hard and I've succeeded.
I'll tell you all a secret. And by all means, I'm not trying to diminish the value of hard work. It is. It's a good thing. It's good to be hardworking, and it's important that you're willing to work hard when it's necessary. But there's a reason that powerful conservatives, prominent conservatives, really try to instill the idea of hard work as a virtue. And it's that if you can, what's the word I'm looking for? If you can facilitate and create a society of people who take pride in how hard they work and how little they expect in return, that's really ideal if you're hoping to exploit people. Because as you'll see, as you can see just by looking around, and especially if you're focusing on conservatives, is what they'll do is start berating each other over who's working the hardest for the least. And it's sad, really, because that works out very much to the benefit of the powerful few. And look no further than economic disparity in America to demonstrate that point. And it really is reflected in the rhetoric of conservatives, especially, who will actually, again, as you see, attack others purely because they perceive them as not working as hard or expecting more, and again, not actually, just that they're perceived that way, and will attack each other over this. Look at the rhetoric surrounding the minimum wage. Very little is actually said about whether or not it's possible, how feasible it is, and how reasonable a proposition it is. And when it is, it's mind-bogglingly stupid speculation. You hear things about, well, a Big Mac will cost $12 and everyone's going to be put out of work. Things that just aren't true. And that's when you focus on the practical aspect. But most of the rhetoric surrounding the minimum wage, raising the minimum wage, is condemnation of minimum wage workers, saying, well, who do they think they are? Why do they think they deserve that much? It's really shaming, because it's been instilled that that what's admirable is to work ridiculously hard and expect ridiculously little in return. And seriously, if you're conservative and you're anything below like the top 10%, you're being taken advantage of. You're being manipulated. Please stop buying into it. Everyone who works deserves a living wage. It's as simple as that. It really is. And it's possible. It's perfectly feasible. It's perfectly reasonable to make sure everyone who is working can afford basic needs. And to be told otherwise is, again, to be manipulated. To be told that that the right and honorable thing to do is to work for less than you're worth. To just, again, work ridiculously hard, expect ridiculously little in return. Stop believing that. I mean, by all means, work hard and don't expect more than is reasonable in return. But really, a living wage is not unreasonable. by any means. It's not. Especially not for major corporations who are paying their employees minimum wage. That's ridiculous. Knock it off. Stop fighting each other. Stop attacking the least privileged people. You're being insane. You cannot be so gullible and easily manipulated. You're being exploited. And it's detrimental to all of us. So that about wraps that up. I'd like to make an endorsement of my own. Guys, this election, I would endorse Bernie Sanders. I've been endorsing him since he announced his candidacy. His ideals and mine are like exactly the same. If you think I know what I'm talking about, and believe me, I do, Bernie Sanders, yeah. Get out there, vote in the primaries. If you're a registered Democrat, I believe it's required that you're a registered Democrat in order to vote in the primaries for the Democratic candidate. And even if he doesn't win the nomination, vote Hillary, vote Democrat, because they're by far the lesser of two evils. I know it might not be ideal, and believe me, I'm not that fond of our two-party system myself, but realistically, in all likelihood, it's going to be one or the other. So, and I've not seen in my lifetime a Republican who I think has a clue, really. So, Bernie Sanders, he's basically, if you're watching this, and I've actually had people say this to me before when I talk about this type of thing. I've actually had people say, if you were running for president, I wish I could vote for you. Again, if you wish someone with my general intelligence and ideas was president, there you go, Bernie Sanders. And again, whether or not he gets a nomination, vote Democrat, because fuck the Republicans. I think I've made that pretty clear in this video. Fuck the Republicans. That about wraps it up. Take care, guys. Look me up on Facebook if you want. I put the link at the address at the beginning of this video, and I'll put it again here at the end.